This is Travel in 10, a series of 10-minute travel shows from around the world that you can download to your iPod and take with you as you travel.
And now, your host, David Brody.
On today's show, I'm going to be joined by one of the world's best-known travel guidebook authors, Arthur Frommer. This is going to be a two-part interview. Today is part one. And also, to celebrate Arthur Frommer being on the show, I'm going to be giving away Frommer's guidebook later in the month. If you go to our website at www.travelin10.com, again, that's www.travelin10, the number 10.com, you'll find out information on how to enter the contest there. And also going to be giving away a couple of other travel guidebooks on other upcoming episodes as well. So hope you enjoy part one of our two-part interview with Arthur Frommer. Well, I'm joined today by one of the world's leading authorities on travel. He started his travel writing career with his self-published book, Europe on $5 a Day in 1957, and he hasn't stopped traveling since. He's built up a travel company that now publishes over 300 travel guides, a magazine, newspaper columns, a radio show, and a popular travel book. He's also the author of a new travel book called Ask Arthur Frommer, Travel Better, Cheaper, and Smarter, and it's a pleasure to be joined by him today. Thanks very much for taking the time to sit down with me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I have a lot of questions I'd like to ask about your most recent book, but first I'm wondering if we can go back to the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit about how you came to write your first travel guide?
Well, the first book was really written when I was in the Army. I was sent to Europe at the time of the Korean War, having graduated from law school. I wrote a little book for my fellow GIs, which did so well that I then civilianized it and called it Europe on $5 a Day. The book came out just when people from North America were beginning to go to Europe in large numbers, and it became quite a bestseller and was such a cataclysmic event in my own life that I then had to stop practicing law and go into travel publishing on a full-time basis. I began publishing other books, not just on Europe, but on Mexico, on the Caribbean, on New York, on various places, and built the series to the point where today we publish over 340 guidebooks a year. So this is something that I never planned. It was totally accidental, but I stumbled by chance on the desire of the public for this type of budget-oriented information. And all my life, I've been propounding the advantages of traveling unpretentiously and traveling and making use of modest facilities, which I think not only save you money but greatly improve the quality of your trip. I've always said that the less you spend on travel, the more you enjoy it.
Now, that first book, Europe on $5 a Day, really had a huge impact on the way that people traveled Europe at the time, didn't it?
Yes, that was the very first book, Europe on $5 a Day, which then led to New York on $5 a day, the Caribbean on $10 a day. Amazingly, Japan on $5 a day was one of our early books at a time when the Japanese yen was selling at 360 to the dollar. It's a bit different today.
Sure. Now, I'm sure for a lot of people, the idea of being a travel writer is really one of their ultimate dream jobs. But from your experience, what are some of the upsides and the downsides of it?
Well, the upside is that it's a wonderful life. I would never trade it for anything else, but it involves a great deal of arduous effort. To do a good travel guide, you can't simply go into a city and enjoy it. Generally, you have to get up early in the morning and go tramping the streets. You discover very early on that the official entities are totally useless in giving you good leads. I'm talking about the government tourist offices and all the rest. And the only way to write a good book is to wander on your own, to just go up and down the streets of a city, asking questions, meeting people, going into lodgings places, looking at rooms. It's hard work. And a great many people have been hired by us to do our guidebooks who have then resigned after a week or so. They find that they're not able to do it.
Really?
It takes a certain type of talent. Generally speaking, the people in your life who are walking encyclopedias of facts about your own home city and who love telling people where they should eat, where they should go for their entertainment, these are the best types of people to choose for your guidebooks. And increasingly today, we are using people who live in the cities about which they're writing. we have found that that kind of experience is just so much better than you would get from sending an author who has never been to the city or country itself to there for the first time to write about it. But we now put out 340 guidebooks a year, and I followed up those 340 with my latest book, in which I've tried to sum up the whole thing. The book that I've written, which is called Ask Arthur Fromer, is sort of an encyclopedia of travel. It attempts not to deal with every destination. That would be too vast a task. There are thousands of cities and places to which you can go. But it attempts to deal with every other question of travel that assaults you when you plan a trip. And it attempts to answer questions, so that I'm very pleased with you. The book has gone into its second printing, and it's doing quite well.
You're right, it really is an encyclopedia of sort of the best tips and advice that obviously you've come across throughout your whole career, and you've packed a pile of information into its 500-some pages. Without giving away all the book, I'm wondering if you can share some of them. For example, you give some great tips on finding really good airfares in your book. If people are looking to find the best deals on airfares, what are some of the tips you would give them?
Well, that's a very easy question to answer, frankly, because there has emerged in recent days a new category of website for finding airfares known as aggregators. These are people who do not sell airfares. They don't get involved in selling you a ticket. They simply do an objective analysis of what's out there and tell you what are the cheapest fares. They are not associated with any one airline. Their only client is the user of the site. They're called aggregators. They bear such names as kayak.com, Kayak.com, fairchase.com, sidestep.com. There's a wonderful little company in Denmark, headquartered in Copenhagen, called Momondo, Momondo.com, that you can use, and that will sometimes find you cheaper airfares within the United States and Canada than you would find by going to our major airfare search engines. It's quite a phenomenon. There's another European site called Mobissimo, but you go to the aggregator, you go to the people who don't try to sell you anything, who simply perform a journalistic function of telling you where the best airfares are.
Talking about that journalistic function, I noticed you wrote a blog posting back in 2007 where you said you're not crazy about some of the travel sites that have a lot of user-generated opinions on them. That being said, I'm wondering, are there any travel blogs or podcasts that you do enjoy, that you do find really valuable?
Well, I don't find any of these so-called user-generated sites valuable. These are the sites that invite amateurs, that invite members of the public simply to write in their reactions to different hotels. The problem with that is that the people doing this have been to one hotel in one city in the course of their lives. They fly to Paris, let's say. They stay at a hotel. They write about it. But they don't have any comparative judgment as to what the level of hotel keeping should really be in the city of Paris. They've never seen any other hotel. Their experience is totally different from that of a professional travel writer who goes to 50 or 60 hotels and is thus able to judge which really is a value and which isn't. So I am opposed to the use of these so-called user-generated sites, and for another reason as well. There is currently occurring, as far as I can see, a massive manipulation of these sites by the hotel industry. Hotels are getting their friends and their employees to write in favorable comments to the various user-generated sites lauding their hotels or criticizing a competitor's hotels. And it is absolutely impossible to distinguish between an honest opinion and a phony one that was generated by a hotel itself. So I have written, and there are several essays in my book, in Ask Arthur Fromer, dealing with these so-called user-generated sites, which are proliferating all over the industry. Many people swear by them. I'm in a lonely minority. But as you can see, and as you saw from the book, I'm not an advocate of the user-generated sites.
Well, it's been a big controversy for TripAdvisor recently, who's had some trouble with their reviews, and a lot of hotels going on and posting their own reviews. But there is two sides to it, as you say. I guess one of the valuable things is there is pictures and videos and commentary from people who have been directly to the sites.
They defend themselves, and
Sure.
they make some very persuasive arguments. But I go by the logic of the situation. If you were the owner of a hotel, wouldn't you get your friends and employees to write in favorable comments about it? Who would not do such a thing?
Right.
And that's where I part company with the user-generated sites. Of course, this is only an opinion on my side, and I must say that there are many people, many astute and experienced travelers who disagree very vehemently with me.
Well, I hope you enjoyed part one of our two-part interview with Arthur Frommer. The next part will be posted up online sometime in the next few weeks. And in the meantime, we're also going to have another interview with Shira Lazar, a popular travel blogger who does some travel blogging for Condé Nast on Jaunted, their pop culture travel blog. She's going to be responding to a bit of what Arthur Frommer had to say on user-generated sites. And the great second part of the interview where he tells us some of his favorite places to travel around the world and some of what he's got planned next. So hope you'll tune in and hope you enjoyed today's show.
Thanks for listening. Download more of our travel shows from around the world at www.travelin10.com.
This has been a presentation of Travel in 10.